Hello and welcome to the Ultimate Auto Smelter Guide. While my most recent smelter module is still functional and current for the most part, I want to release a full guide to bring you all up to date. By the end of this video, you will all be smelting masters. We will start off by revisiting the main attraction, the auto smelter. For this build, you'll need 5 storage adapters, plus 1 for each furnace and refinery, 5 conveyors, 2 industrial splitters, 1 industrial combiner, 1 generator, 1 ore gate, 1 electrical splitter, 2 igniters, 35 low-grade fuel, and 5 available power. Attach 4 storage adapters to your input box, 1 to each furnace and refinery, and 1 to your output box. Place down 4 conveyors in pairs of 2, and 1 conveyor by the output box. Next, we will add 2 splitters before the conveyors, and a combiner after. Now that we have all our industrial components laid out, let's set them up. Connect the 4 storage adapters on the input box to each other, into the splitters, and into each of the conveyors. Output the bottom conveyor in each pair to the combiner. Run the pipe through your furnaces and refineries, then into the output conveyor, and finally the output box. The top conveyors are called check conveyors because they check the input box for the presence of resources. Starting from the top, set the filters to wood in the first conveyor with no additional settings, metal ore, sulfur ore, HQM ore, and, if you are connecting an oil refinery, crude oil in the second conveyor. Set the maximums to 11, 22, 6, and 4 respectively. In the third conveyor, add all the ores in crude oil, but without the maximums. In the fourth conveyor, add wood with a maximum of 12. The output conveyor can be left blank. Now that the industrial is all set up, we can work on the electricity side of things. Branch off 5 power and connect it to each of the conveyors. Although conveyors only consume 1 power, they require at least 2 power to be at their input in order for the filter, pass, and fail outputs to function. For this reason, it is important to wire the output conveyor last. Now, we'll take the filter pass from the top conveyor and connect it to the turn on of the second conveyor, then do the same with the filter fail to the turn off. Repeat this, plugging the filter pass and fail of the third conveyor into the turn on and off of the fourth one. The last thing we need to do is set up the auto ignition. A big thanks to Corrector from the Rustricity Workshop Discord server for coming up with this generator igniter. Set down your generator and an ore gate. Take filter pass from your wood conveyor, connect it to one of the inputs of the ore gate, then connect the ore gate into the forced start on the generator. Next, place down a splitter and hook up the power out from the generator into it. Take an output from the splitter and wire that back into the forced stop of the generator. This makes the generator only turn on for a brief moment, enough to pulse the igniters and minimize the damage they take. Place your igniters by your furnaces and refineries, then hook them up to the remaining splitter outputs. Generators produce 40 power, so they can activate up to 39 igniters with 1 power needed to turn themselves off. Add more splitters and branches to suit your personal auto smelter needs. Finally, add about 35 low grade to the generator and turn on the check conveyors to start the smelter up. If your smelter doesn't start like mine here, make sure you empty the wood from the large furnaces. You only need to empty 1 for the system to start working, but I'll empty them all. I accidentally took the wood from the refinery after it started, which is what caused it to turn off. The generator has enough fuel to ignite the furnaces around 500 times, which is approximately how many times the igniters can be used before they break. Make sure you remember to turn on the output conveyor as well. As you can see, the refinery and furnaces are working and depositing the processed materials into the output box here. That's all there is to the auto smelter, so let's move on to the next build. This next build is a little niche, but I decided to add it anyway. This is an auto refinery. For this build, you'll need 2 conveyors, 2 storage adapters plus 1 for each refinery, 1 ore gate, 1 timer, 1 igniter, and 3 available power. We'll start off by putting only one storage adapter on the input box. This is very important to how the smelter functions, as more than one adapter will break the system. Then we'll go ahead and place the other 2 adapters, 2 conveyors, an OR gate, timer, and igniter. Let's pipe everything up. Remember to take the wood out of the refinery and set the conveyor filter. Add wood and crude oil with the maxes set to 12 and 4 respectively. Set your conveyor mode to require all. Take the filter pass from your first conveyor into the OR gate, then into the toggle on of the timer. Set your branch power to 3, hook up the conveyors, then the timer. Set the timer to 0.25, then connect it to the igniter. Finally, turn on the conveyors and you're all set. This is a simple electric furnace smelter. You will need 1 storage adapter plus 1 for each electric furnace, 1 conveyor, 1 switch, 1 electrical splitter, 1 button, 1 igniter, and 10 available power. A small battery works well for this. Start off by putting a storage adapter on your input-output box, 1 on each furnace, and place down your conveyor. Next, place your switch and splitter down. Hook up the box to your conveyor, then to your furnaces, then connect the last furnace back into the box. This single conveyor will both feed the furnaces and pull the smelted resources out. Plug the battery into the switch, then the conveyor, into the splitter, and connect each output to the power in of your electric furnaces. Turn on your switch and conveyor, and the ores will start flowing into the furnaces. Now the furnaces have power, but they don't automatically turn on. You can either manually turn them on by holding your use key and pressing turn on, or use an igniter attached to a button. I prefer using the button as it gives off a brief pulse of 2 power to the igniter to start the furnaces and doesn't require any additional power sources. You'll only have to do this on the initial setup and once on the first smelt after a server restart. This may change in the future, but as of April 2024, if conveyors or electric furnaces are not powered during a server restart, they will default to off when they receive power again, and so the igniter is necessary. You can use the switch to manually turn the whole system on and off. Last but not least, this is an advanced electrical furnace smelter. For this build, you will need 5 storage adapters plus 1 for each furnace, 2 conveyors, 2 switches, 1 electrical branch, 1 splitter plus however many you will need to power all your furnaces, 1 AND gate, 2 igniters, 1 small battery, and 3 power plus 3 power per furnace. I have 6 furnaces, which take 18 power, for a total of 21. As usual, attach 4 adapters to the input box, 1 to each furnace, and 1 to the output box. Place 1 conveyor between the last furnace and the output box, and 1 between the first furnace and the input box. Connect all the storage adapters together, into the first conveyor, into all the furnaces, and into the second conveyor, then into the output box. The most common design for a smelter like this is to have 1 group of 9 or more furnaces in a 1x1 half floor, then another group of 9 or more above it. I only have 3 in each group here for demonstration purposes. Put your igniters near each group of furnaces, and the splitters to power the furnaces. Set your power requirement next. I will need 21 power here, even though I mistakenly set it to 20. I come back to fix this in a moment. Run your power through your conveyors, then place a main switch and run the power into that. Next, place a branch above the main switch and connect it. Here, I fixed the power by setting it to 21. Then, set your branch here to your furnace power requirement, which is 18 in my case, and connect it to your splitters and ultimately your furnaces. Next, we need to set up our ignition. Place down a small battery, switch, and splitter, and connect them in that order. Take the first splitter output and connect it to an igniter, and do the same with the second splitter output. Hook up the third and final splitter output into the switch off of the battery switch. This, much like the generator igniter from the auto smelter, will briefly pulse the igniters to activate them, then immediately turn the battery back off again. Small batteries start out with 37 power, which is enough for approximately 24,747 pulses in this configuration. Needless to say, this is more than enough for any wipe length. Next, take the filter pass from the first conveyor and connect it to the switch on of the main switch. Place an AND gate and connect the filter fail from both conveyors into it. Hook this up to the switch off of the main switch. Take the power out from the branch and connect it to the switch on of the battery switch. The wiring is now complete and the system will turn itself on, activate the battery ignition, and turn itself back off when there are no ores to smelt. The one thing I like to do is set maximum filters for the ores. While not completely necessary, it helps the furnaces run at maximum efficiency by ensuring even distribution of ores to the furnaces. Add metal, sulfur, and HQM ore to the filter, and set the maxes to 4, 8, and 3 respectively. Lastly, turn on the conveyors and it's done. I'll recolor the wire here for clarity. You can manually turn the system on and off, or just let it run automatically. Thank you so much for watching. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and it means a lot to me that you made it to the end. I've finally started my own Discord, so feel free to stop by and say hi. I'm hoping to make a friendly place to chat about all things Rust and other games, including a help channel if you're confused by any circuits. It is also where I keep all of my most up-to-date circuits, so if that is something that interests you, be sure to check it out. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Oh hey there, you're still sticking around? Well, I've got one last thing to show you for being so persistent. You'll need a switch, splitter, blocker, and OR gate. Place down all your components, then take the pass-through from the output conveyor back around and into your switch. Run the switch into the splitter, then one output into the block pass-through input of the blocker, and another into the OR gate. From the OR check conveyor, remove the filter fail from the turn off of the wood conveyor and plug it into the bottom of the blocker, then run the blocker back into the turn off instead. Do the same with the OR check conveyor's filter pass. Connect it to the OR gate, then connect the OR gate into the turn on of the wood conveyor. Raise the power from 5 to 7 and you're done. Don't worry, this won't add any additional drain to your battery. To turn your auto smelter into a charcoal factory, just flip the switch. It will turn on the wood conveyor and keep it running until you have no wood left to burn, even when no ore or crude oil is present. Turn it off, and the furnaces will extinguish themselves.